Welcome back, everyone, to another heartfelt episode of Fremmer English Podcast, the podcast where we help you improve your English our most natural and emotionally connected way possible, through long conversations that feel real, warm, and deeply human. Today, we're diving into a topic that seems simple on the surface: how to talk about your weekend. But when you open it up, you find that weekends are full of emotion.
Yes, and before we begin, we want to gently remind you to subscribe, like, comment, and share, because your support encourages us to continue creating these long conversations where English and emotion come together. Weekends may only last 2 days, but they carry stories, memories, and feelings that can teach us so much, not only about language, but also about life.
You know, when someone asks me about my weekend, I don't just think of what I did, I think of how I felt, because weekends always bring a shift in energy, a chance to breathe, a moment to recenter, and sometimes even an opportunity to reflect on the week that has passed.
I feel the same. Weekends have their own rhythm, their own emotional temperature. Sometimes they are peaceful and slow, like a warm blanket after a long week. And other times they are energetic and full of activities that help me reconnect with the world outside my work routine.
For example, last weekend I decided to take things slowly. I woke up without an alarm for the first time in days, and it felt so refreshing to let my body decide when it had rested enough. I made myself a warm drink and spent a quiet moment just sitting near the window, watching the morning light fill the room.
That sounds lovely. And it reminds me of my own weekend mornings. I love starting my Saturdays gently, taking my time, stretching, breathing deeply, and enjoying the sense of calm that only early weekend mornings can bring. It feels like the world is softer, more patient, and more welcoming during those hours.
One thing I really enjoy doing on weekends is going for a long walk, not for exercise, but simply to clear my mind and reconnect with my surroundings. Last weekend, as I walked through the park, I could feel the stress from the week slowly leaving my body with every step I took.
I love weekend walks too, especially when I can feel the fresh air filling my lungs and the quietness helping me think more clearly. Sometimes during those walks, I find answers to questions that felt too heavy or confusing during the busy weekdays.
Another thing I often do during the weekend is catch up on chores, laundry, cleaning, organizing. But somehow these tasks feel less stressful on weekends because I do them at my own pace, without rushing to meet a deadline. Yes, weekend chores feel different. They're not just responsibilities. They become small acts of self-care, ways of creating a space that feels fresh and comforting. And when the house is clean, my mind feels clearer too. But weekends aren't only about rest. Sometimes I use them to reconnect with friends. Last weekend, for example, I met a friend I hadn't seen in months, and we spent hours catching up, sharing stories, laughing, and remembering how important our friendship is.
That sounds wonderful. I also try to see friends during the weekend, because talking to people I care about fills my heart with warmth. Even a simple conversation over a cup of coffee can make the whole weekend feel meaningful.
Sometimes, though, I choose to spend my weekend alone, not because I'm lonely, but because I need time to recharge. I might read, watch a movie, cook something simple, or just sit quietly with my thoughts, and those moments of solitude are deeply healing.
I understand that completely. Weekend solitude can be incredibly powerful. It gives you the space to reconnect with yourself, to listen to your inner voice, and to feel your emotions without distraction.
One of my favorite weekend activities is cooking something slow, something that takes time and fills the house with comforting smells. Last weekend, I made a simple homemade meal, and the process of cooking made me feel grounded and peaceful.
Cooking during the weekend is one of my greatest joys too. It feels different from weekday cooking. On weekends, I cook with more attention, more creativity, and more heart. And the meal becomes an experience, not just an obligation.
Weekends also give me time to reflect on my week. What went well, what I struggled with, what I want to improve. I don't force myself to think deeply, but the thoughts naturally come when my mind is relaxed.
Yes, reflection happens naturally on weekends because the mind finally has space to breathe. I often find myself thinking about my goals, my emotions, and my next steps in life during these quiet hours.
Sometimes, my weekends are more active. I might go shopping, visit family, run errands, or explore a new place. These activities add variety to my routine and remind me that life is more than work.
Exactly. A change of scenery can refresh the spirit. Even simple weekend adventures like visiting a cafe, going to a market, or walking in a different neighborhood can bring a sense of novelty that lifts my mood.
Before we continue, let me gently remind our listeners to subscribe, like, comment, and share, especially if this warm, detailed conversation is helping you learn how to talk about your weekend in a natural way.
Yes, thank you for being here with us. We love reading your comments, your stories, and your weekend experiences, so please share them. Your voice is part of this podcast.
Another thing I enjoy about weekends is having breakfast slowly. Instead of eating quickly before work, I take my time, preparing something I like, drinking slowly, and enjoying the quietness of the moment.
Slow breakfasts are wonderful. For me, they're a small celebration, a way of saying, I made it through the week, and now I can rest. Those peaceful mornings help me begin the weekend with gratitude.
Sometimes I spend part of my weekend learning something new, reading articles, watching educational videos, or practicing a skill. It feels good to learn when there is no pressure, no deadline, only curiosity.
I love weekend learning too. When I learn something new on a weekend, it feels like a gift to myself, something that nourishes my mind and makes me feel productive, but in a gentle, enjoyable way.
On some weekends, I go to visit family. Even a short visit brings a sense of comfort, the warmth of familiar voices, the smell of home, the connection to memories that shaped who I am.
Family visits are special for me too, even if we just sit together without doing anything. The feeling of being with them brings a kind of peace that I can't find anywhere else.
There are also weekends when unexpected things happen. An unexpected invitation, a sudden plan, a spontaneous decision. And these moments often become the most memorable ones because they break the routine.
Yes, spontaneity makes weekends feel alive. Sometimes the best moments come from saying yes to something unplanned, a walk, a meal, a conversation, and those moments stay in my heart.
At the end of the weekend, I often take a moment to prepare for the new week, laying out clothes, organizing my schedule, cleaning my space, and these little rituals help me enter Monday with calmness instead of stress.
I have similar rituals. I review my goals, plan my meals, and make sure my bag is ready. These simple actions make Mondays feel softer, like I'm entering the week with clarity instead of chaos.
Sometimes, though, weekends feel too short, especially when I am tired or emotionally drained. But instead of feeling frustrated, I remind myself that even a few quiet moments can be healing.
Yes, even a short weekend can hold powerful emotional rest, a peaceful hour. A warm meal, a good conversation, or a quiet walk can recharge the heart more than an entire day of rushing. That's such an important lesson. Rest is not wasted time. It's essential for our emotional and mental well-being. When I allow myself to rest fully, I return to my responsibilities with more energy and clarity.
There are weekends when I dive into hobbies I don't have time for during the week. Photography, writing, music, and these moments remind me of who I am outside of work.
Hobbies make weekends feel fulfilling. They bring joy, creativity, and excitement. And they help me reconnect with the parts of myself that sometimes get lost in the busyness of life.
Sometimes I also take time during the weekend to disconnect from technology, turning off notifications, stepping away from social media, and simply being present with myself or the people around me.
Digital breaks are important. They help me feel more grounded, more focused, and more connected to real life. Even a short break from screens can refresh the mind in surprising ways.
Before we continue, let me once again remind our listeners, if this conversation is helping you learn English naturally, please subscribe, like, comment, and share. Your support means everything to us.
Yes, thank you for being part of this warm, growing community. Your participation makes these episodes deeper, richer, and more meaningful.
Another thing that makes weekends special for me is the absence of pressure. I don't have to rush. I don't have to perform. I don't have to meet deadlines. I can simply be myself.
Yes, the absence of pressure brings a sense of freedom. Weekends are like gentle reminders that life isn't only about work, it's also about rest, joy, connection, and self-discovery.
Sometimes I spend my weekend watching a movie or a series, not because it's productive, but because it helps me relax and let my mind travel to another world for a little while.
I do that too. A good movie or show can be comforting, inspiring, and emotionally refreshing, especially when watched slowly with a warm drink and a peaceful atmosphere.
One thing that always makes my weekend feel complete is taking a moment, even a short one, to appreciate the present, the quietness, the comfort, the feeling of being alive without rushing.
Yes, gratitude deepens the beauty of the weekend. When I pause to appreciate the small joys, I feel more connected, more grounded, and more emotionally rested.
Talking about weekends like this makes me realize how rich these 2 days can be, full of small stories, deep emotions, gentle rest, and meaningful moments.
I feel the same. Weekends are tiny chapters of our life where we heal, recharge, connect, and rediscover ourselves. And learning to talk about them in English opens the door to expressing these beautiful experiences with clarity and heart.
You know, as we talk about weekends, I'm realizing how important it is to pay attention to the little things. The warm sunlight through the window, the calm feeling of a slow morning, the comfort of wearing soft clothes, because these details bring a kind of quiet happiness that we often overlook during the busy week.
Yes, exactly. Weekends remind me that joy doesn't always come from big events. Sometimes it comes from small moments that feel gentle and real. Even something as simple as sitting with a warm cup of tea can make me feel peaceful in a way that is hard to describe.
Last weekend, for example, I spent part of my afternoon listening to music I loved when I was younger, and suddenly memories came flooding back, moments, emotions, and people I hadn't thought about in years. It made the afternoon feel like a quiet reunion with my past self.
I know that feeling. Sometimes music has the power to transport us to different times in our life. And when that happens on a weekend afternoon, it feels like a gift. Like time is allowing us to reconnect with forgotten parts of our heart.
Another thing I enjoy doing on weekends is spending time outdoors. Sometimes I go to a nearby cafe with outdoor seating, and I sit there watching people walk by, listening to the soft sounds of the city, and feeling connected to life without needing to do anything.
That sounds beautiful. I also love sitting outside on weekends, feeling the wind, hearing the distant laughter of children, watching strangers with their own stories passing by. It makes me feel calm and somehow part of something bigger than myself.
There are weekends when I feel more active, when I want to accomplish things, maybe organizing my closet, fixing something at home, or finally doing a task I've been avoiding. And when I finally finish it, even if it's small, I feel proud.
Yes, finishing long postponed tasks can be surprisingly satisfying. Sometimes I don't realize how much mental space something was taking up until it's done. And suddenly I feel lighter, like a quiet weight has been lifted from my mind.
Sometimes, my weekends include a moment of creativity, writing a few lines in a journal, drawing something simple, or taking photos of random details around me. These creative moments bring me joy because they let me express myself without expectation.
I love creative weekends too, even when I'm not trying to create something perfect. Just the act of playing with colors, words, or ideas makes me feel alive. Creativity opens a small window to my inner world.
Before we continue, let me gently remind our listeners to subscribe, like, comment, and share, especially if this conversation is helping you learn how to talk about your weekend in a natural and heartfelt way.
Yes, your support truly matters to us. We love hearing your weekend stories, your reflections, and the little moments you enjoy. They remind us that this podcast is a shared space full of real human experiences.
One of the most comforting parts of my weekend is the evening, when the sky begins to darken, the lights inside my home feel warm, and the world slows down. I often make a simple dinner, sit quietly, and let my mind relax.
Weekend evenings are special for me too. They feel softer than weekday evenings. There is no pressure to sleep early, no rush to prepare for work. I can simply enjoy the calm, maybe watching a favorite show or reading a few chapters of a book.
Sometimes I spend my Sunday mornings at a small bakery near my home. I sit by the window with a pastry and a coffee, watching the world slowly wake up. There's something peaceful about seeing people arrive one by one, each with their own story.
That sounds lovely. I also like visiting a cafe on weekends. The soft music, the smell of fresh coffee, the gentle conversations around me, all of it creates a warm atmosphere that helps me start my day with comfort and clarity.
There are also weekends when I don't do anything special. I stay home, rest, and let myself simply exist. And even though nothing exciting happens, those weekends sometimes become the most healing ones.
Yes, stillness can be powerful. A weekend spent resting, breathing, and letting your mind slow down can give you more energy and emotional balance than a weekend full of activities.
Another weekend habit I have is talking to someone I care about. A friend, a family member, someone I haven't spoken to in a while. Even a short conversation brings warmth into my day.
I love connecting with loved ones on weekends too. There's something comforting about hearing a familiar voice, sharing a laugh, or simply saying, "How have you been?" It strengthens relationships in a gentle way.
Sometimes I dedicate part of my weekend to planning the week ahead, not in a stressful way, but in a calm and intentional way, thinking about what I want to achieve and how I want to feel.
I also prepare for the week on Sunday evenings, writing down goals, choosing my clothes, organizing my schedule. These small preparations make the upcoming week feel less overwhelming and more balanced.
There are also weekends when emotions hit me unexpectedly, maybe because I finally have time to breathe, and when I slow down, feelings I ignored during the week rise to the surface.
I know that feeling well. Weekends give us emotional space, and sometimes the quietness reveals feelings we didn't have time to process. Sadness, joy, nostalgia, or even relief.
One weekend, I remember sitting on my balcony during sunset. The sky was painted with soft colors, pink, orange, purple, and I suddenly felt grateful for everything, for my breath, for my life, for the simple beauty of that moment.
That's beautiful. I've had similar moments when I look at the sunset or the sky and feel a wave of gratitude for the present moment, as if life is gently reminding me of what truly matters.
Sometimes I spend my weekends exploring new places in my city, a small bookstore, a quiet park, a street I've never walked down. These small discoveries make me feel curious and alive.
Exploring new places is one of my favorite weekend activities too. Even visiting a new cafe or seeing a different part of town feels refreshing, like giving my mind something new to enjoy.
There are also weekends when I catch up on sleep. I let myself rest deeply, without alarms, without guilt, because I know my body needs time to recover from the week.
Yes, weekend sleep is different, deeper, softer, more peaceful. Waking up naturally without rushing is one of the greatest gifts I can give myself.
Before we continue, I want to remind our listeners again to subscribe, like, comment, and share, so that more learners can experience these long, emotional English conversations along with you.
Yes, thank you for being here. Every time you interact with our podcast, you help us continue sharing stories, feelings, and language that connect people around the world.
On some weekends, I enjoy doing simple self-care, trimming my hair, organizing my desk, lighting a candle, or preparing a skincare routine. These small acts help me feel refreshed from the inside out.
Self-care weekends are so important. Sometimes I take a long bath, pamper myself with a face mask, or just tidy my room. These quiet rituals make me feel lighter and more connected to myself.
Another thing I appreciate about weekends is the slower pace, the chance to walk without hurry, eat without rushing, and breathe without pressure. Even everyday actions feel softer on the weekend.
Exactly. Weekends soften the edges of life. They give us permission to be gentle with ourselves, to slow down, and to live in the moment instead of constantly thinking ahead.
Sometimes I watch the sunrise on a weekend morning, the soft colors, the quiet air, the feeling of a new beginning. It fills me with hope for the days ahead.
Sunrise moments are magical. They remind me that every day is a fresh start, full of possibilities. And watching the world wake up helps me feel grounded and inspired.
On other weekends, I stay up a bit later than usual, watching movies, talking with friends, or simply enjoying the peaceful nighttime atmosphere without worrying about waking up early.
Yes, weekend nights feel freer. I can stay up without guilt, enjoying the quiet hours when the world feels slower and somehow more intimate.
Sometimes I spend my Sunday afternoon reflecting on what made me smile during the weekend. A good conversation, a delicious meal, a peaceful moment. And these reflections help me carry gratitude into the new week.
I love that. I also like thinking about the highlights of my weekend, even if they're small, because they remind me that life is full of gentle joys that appear in everyday moments.
Another thing that makes weekends meaningful is giving myself space to feel emotions, whether happiness, sadness, stress, or calm, without judging myself. Weekends remind me that it's okay to feel whatever I feel.
Yes, emotional honesty is easier on weekends. When the world slows down, I allow myself to sit with my feelings, understand them, and let them pass through me gently.
As we move through this conversation, I realize how important it is to talk about our weekends in a genuine way, not just listing activities, but expressing the emotions and experiences behind them.
Exactly. When we describe our weekends with emotion and detail, we practice not only English vocabulary, but also the skill of expressing our inner world with clarity and depth.
Before we close this section, let me gently remind you once again to subscribe, like, comment, and share, because your support helps us continue creating these long, heartfelt episodes for you.
Yes, and thank you for listening with such openness. Your engagement and presence make this podcast feel like a warm conversation between friends.
Talking about weekends reminds me that these 2 days are more than just a break. They're a chance to reconnect with ourselves, our loved ones, and the simple joys of life.
And I feel the same. Weekends are tiny chapters full of beauty, rest, reflection, and meaning. And learning to talk about them in English helps us appreciate them even more deeply.
You know, something I've realized about weekends is that they give us a chance to reset emotionally, almost like pressing a gentle pause button on the constant noise inside our minds, allowing us to breathe, reflect, and reconnect with who we truly are beneath all the responsibilities.
Yes, weekends create emotional space, and in that space, thoughts feel clearer. Feelings become easier to understand, and life somehow feels more balanced, even if only for a little while.
One of my favorite weekend moments is sitting in a quiet room with soft sunlight coming through the window, letting myself think about nothing at all. Just enjoying the stillness and the feeling of time slowing down in a way that never happens during busy weekdays.
It sounds so peaceful. I also love those soft, quiet moments when the world feels gentle and I can simply exist without pressure, without expectations, just being present with myself and the calm around me.
Sometimes weekends remind me of my childhood. Slow mornings, simple joys, long afternoons that felt endless. When I experience a peaceful weekend now, I feel a little of that childlike freedom returning.
I know exactly what you mean. Weekends often bring a sense of nostalgia, the kind that makes you smile gently because it reminds you of times when life felt simple and full of small wonders.
There are weekends when I try something new, maybe a different restaurant, a new hobby, or a place I've never visited. Even small changes help me break out of routine and see life with fresh eyes.
Yes, exploring something new, even if it's small, adds a spark to the weekend. It opens the heart, inspires the mind, and reminds us that life still has surprises waiting for us.
But there are also weekends when I feel tired, emotionally or physically, and instead of forcing myself to do something exciting, I allow myself to rest deeply. knowing that rest is not weakness, it's renewal.
That's so important. Some weekends are meant for healing, for quiet moments, for gentle self-care, and accepting that helps us grow emotionally stronger.
Before we continue, let me gently remind our listeners to subscribe, like, comment, and share, especially if these warm, reflective conversations help you learn English in a natural and meaningful way.
Yes, your support truly keeps this podcast alive. And we love hearing your weekend stories in the comments. They make our community feel connected and real.
Something else I enjoy on weekends is cooking slowly, taking my time, choosing ingredients carefully, and preparing a meal that feels comforting. Cooking becomes less like a task and more like an expression of care.
I feel the same when I cook on weekends. I enjoy the process. I breathe in the aroma, listen to the soft sounds of chopping and simmering, and let the cooking become a relaxing ritual instead of a responsibility.
Sometimes I use weekends to tidy my space, not because I have to, but because creating order around me helps create order inside me. A clean environment makes my mind feel clearer and lighter.
Yes, organizing my space is one of the most calming weekend activities for me. Putting things in their place gives me a sense of control and peace, as if I am gently preparing myself for a fresh start.
There are also weekends when I like to sit in a coffee shop with my journal, writing down thoughts, ideas, dreams, and worries. Seeing my words on paper helps me understand myself more deeply.
Journaling on weekends is a beautiful practice. It allows me to explore my emotions, celebrate my growth, and release the stress that sometimes builds up during the week.
Another thing I enjoy about weekends is the opportunity to spend time with people I love, whether it's a long conversation, a shared meal, or a simple walk together. These moments remind me of the relationships that support me every day.
Yes, weekend connections feel different. They're not rushed, not squeezed between meetings or responsibilities. They're full of presence, warmth, and genuine attention.
Sometimes I even take short naps on weekends, peaceful afternoon naps where the room is quiet, the air is soft, and I can feel my body letting go of the tension from the week.
Weekend naps are magical. They're not like weekday naps where you feel guilty or rushed. Weekend naps feel like a gentle gift to your tired mind and body.
I also enjoy doing small, relaxing activities like watering my plants, reading a few pages of a book, or listening to soft music. These simple moments make my weekend feel richer.
Yes, it's often the smallest activities that bring the deepest sense of peace, the quiet acts that help you reconnect with your inner calm.
Sometimes, though, weekends bring a moment of sadness, not for any specific reason, but simply because slowing down gives space for emotions we ignored during the week. And I've learned to accept that feeling as part of being human.
I understand that so well. Emotional waves come more easily on weekends, and even though they can feel heavy, they also help us release tension and heal emotionally.
One of the most meaningful parts of my weekends is watching the sunset, the sky changing colors slowly, the world calming down, and the quiet feeling washing over me as I realize another week has passed.
Sunsets during the weekend feel especially emotional. They carry a soft reminder that time is moving, life is changing, and every moment, even the slow ones, has beauty.
Before we continue, I want to once again remind our listeners to subscribe, like, comment, and share. Your support truly helps us continue creating these long, emotional conversations for your English learning journey.
Yes, thank you for being here with us. Every message, every share, every listener makes this podcast feel like a warm circle of friends learning together.
Another thing I sometimes do on weekends is declutter my mind by turning off all digital distractions. No messages, no notifications, no social media, just peace.
Digital breaks are incredibly refreshing. When I disconnect from my phone, I feel more present, more grounded, and more aware of the beauty around me.
Sometimes I spend my Sunday cooking a big meal to enjoy during the week, something warm and comforting. And knowing that food is ready makes my upcoming days feel calmer.
I love meal prepping on weekends too. It feels like I'm taking care of my future self, giving her something to make the week easier and less stressful.
There are also weekends when I read or watch something inspiring, a documentary, a movie, or an article that makes me think deeply and gives me a new perspective on life.
I love inspiring weekend content. It helps me reflect, dream, and sometimes even change the way I look at the world or myself.
Sometimes my weekends include laughter, meeting friends, watching something funny, or remembering old stories, and that laughter becomes the highlight of the entire week.
Laughter feels different on weekends. It's freer, lighter, and more natural, as if the heart finally has space to open fully.
I also enjoy taking slow walks on Sunday evenings, feeling the calm of the streets, the soft glow of the lights, and the gentle transition into a new week.
Evening walks bring such peaceful energy. They help me release the last bit of weekend stress and enter the new week with a clear, refreshed mind.
Another thing I appreciate is being able to choose my weekend pace, whether fast or slow, active or quiet, knowing that this time belongs entirely to me.
Yes, that freedom is precious. Weekends allow us to listen to our bodies and hearts, choosing whatever brings us comfort or joy.
Sometimes I write a short list of things I'm grateful for, not because someone told me to, but because it helps me end the weekend with a warm heart.
Gratitude lists make weekends feel complete. They remind me of all the small blessings that appeared throughout the week and fill me with positivity.
There are also weekends when I simply breathe deeply, look around my home, and appreciate that I have a safe space where I can rest, heal, and just be myself.
I do that too, appreciating the quiet beauty of my home, the comfort of my surroundings, and the gentle feeling of belonging to a space that protects me.
Before we finish this section, let me remind everyone listening to subscribe, like, comment, and share, because your support truly keeps this podcast strong and growing.
Yes, thank you for being here with us, sharing this emotional journey through language, reflection, and real-life experience.
Talking about my weekend in such detail makes me realize how much meaning these 2 days hold, how they shape my emotional balance, my mental clarity, and my overall happiness.
I feel exactly the same. Weekends are like small emotional vacations, giving us space to breathe, reflect, and reconnect with ourselves. And learning to talk about them helps us understand them more deeply.
As we enter this final part of our conversation, I realize that weekends are not just a break from work. They are a gentle reminder that life is made of rhythms, moments of effort balanced with moments of rest, and that we need both to remain emotionally healthy and connected to ourselves.
Yes, weekends give us time to return to our true inner pace, to step away from the pressure of constant activity, and to reconnect with the softness and calm that often get lost during the week.
One of the most meaningful lessons I've learned from paying attention to my weekends is that rest is not something to feel guilty about. It is a form of strength, a quiet act of self-respect that allows us to return to the world with more clarity and compassion.
I completely agree. Rest is not laziness. It is nourishment for the heart, mind, and body, and when we honor our need for rest, we give ourselves permission to grow, heal, and thrive.
Another thing I appreciate is the way weekends allow me to reconnect with people I love. Those gentle conversations, shared meals, small moments of laughter, or even comfortable silence remind me of the relationships that bring meaning to my life.
Yes, weekend connections hold a special kind of warmth. When the world slows down, relationships shine more brightly, and we become more present, more attentive, and more grateful for the people who care about us.
There are also weekends when I simply let myself feel whatever emotions rise, happiness, sadness, confusion, or calmness, and instead of judging those feelings, I try to understand them and let them pass through me gently.
Emotional honesty is one of the gifts of weekends. When we finally have time to breathe, feelings come to the surface naturally, and listening to them helps us understand ourselves more deeply.
Before we continue, let me gently remind our listeners to subscribe, like, comment, and share, especially if these conversations help you learn English through real emotions, real stories, and real human connection.
Yes, thank you for being with us. Your support allows us to keep creating these long, thoughtful episodes where language and emotion come together so naturally.
One thing that often happens during my weekends is a moment of unexpected clarity, a thought, an idea, or a realization that rises slowly from the quiet, something I didn't have the mental space to see during the week.
I have those moments too. When everything is calm, answers suddenly appear, solutions become clearer, and my mind feels more open and spacious, like a window has finally been opened.
Sometimes I take a few minutes on Sunday evening to reflect on the weekend, what I enjoyed, what brought me peace, and what I wish I had done differently. And these reflections help me enter the new week with understanding and intention.
Reflection helps me too. It turns the weekend into something meaningful, not just a break, but a source of emotional growth, gentle learning, and renewed perspective.
Another thing I love is preparing a cozy environment on weekend nights. Dim lights, soft music, a warm blanket, creating a space where I can relax and feel safe, almost like giving myself a small emotional sanctuary.
That sounds beautiful. I also create a cozy space on weekend nights, lighting a candle, drinking something warm, and letting myself melt into the quietness. Moments like these calm my heart deeply.
There are weekends when I reflect on my goals, not in a stressful way, but with gentle curiosity, asking myself what I truly want, what brings me joy, and how I can move toward a life that feels meaningful and balanced.
Yes, weekends reveal our dreams more clearly because the noise of the week fades away. When we listen closely during these moments, we often discover what our heart truly desires.
Sometimes I also think about my past weekends, the ones filled with adventure, the ones filled with rest, the ones filled with emotion, and I realize that each weekend leaves a small impression on my life, shaping me slowly, quietly, tenderly.
That's so true. Weekends are like tiny chapters in the book of our life. Each one adds something new, something emotional, something meaningful, even if we don't notice it right away.
Before we move toward our closing reflections, I want to remind every listener to subscribe, like, comment, and share, so more learners can join us in these warm, natural, emotional English conversations.
Yes, your support means everything. Thank you for helping us create a community where people learn English not just through words, but through real, heartfelt experience.
Talking about weekends today has reminded me how precious these 2 days are, how they give us space to breathe, connect, reflect, and simply live at our own pace.
Yes, weekends are a gentle reminder that life is not only about productivity, it is also about joy, rest, curiosity, and emotional well-being.
I hope our listeners feel encouraged to appreciate their weekends more, to notice the small beautiful moments, to allow themselves to rest, and to express these experiences in English with confidence and emotion.
And I hope they learn that talking about a weekend is not just listing what you did, it's expressing how you felt, what you enjoyed, what you discovered, and how those moments helped you grow.
Sometimes, the beauty of a weekend is not in what we do, but in what we don't do. In the silence, the stillness, the decision to slow down and listen to ourselves.
Yes, sometimes the most meaningful weekend is the one where nothing extraordinary happens, but everything feels calm and emotionally nourishing.
As we approach the end of this episode, I want our listeners to remember that learning English should feel like this: gentle, natural, emotional, connected to real life, not forced or mechanical. Exactly. When language connects to real feelings and human experiences, it becomes easier to remember and more enjoyable to practice.
Thank you for spending this time with us, for opening your heart to our words, and for allowing this conversation to become part of your weekend reflections. Yes, thank you for sharing this space with us. Your presence makes every episode warmer, deeper, and more meaningful.
As you move into your next weekend, I hope you carry a sense of peace with you, a gentle reminder that you deserve rest, joy, connection, and emotional softness.
And I hope you give yourself permission to slow down, breathe deeply, and savor the beauty hidden in small, ordinary moments.
Remember that every weekend is a gentle invitation to return to yourself, to slow your pace, breathe more deeply, and restore a sense of balance after a long and demanding week. It's a time to nourish the parts of your heart and mind that may feel tired, overwhelmed, or forgotten during your daily responsibilities.
Yes, and try to treat your weekends with kindness and intention, because they are not just breaks from work, but sacred moments for healing, quiet growth, and reconnecting with the people, passions, and values that truly matter to you.
We are deeply honored to guide you through your English learning journey, walking alongside you as you learn to express your thoughts, emotions, and life experiences in a way that feels natural, human, and emotionally alive.
And we truly hope that each episode helps you feel a little more confident, a little more understood, and a little more connected, not only to the English language, but also to your own voice and inner world.
This is your host, wishing you peace in your thoughts, clarity in your decisions, and many small but beautiful weekend moments that help your life feel calmer, more balanced, and deeply meaningful.
And I'm wishing you warmth in your heart, gentle joy in your days, and soft, comforting rest. The kind of rest that helps you slow down and feel grateful for life's simple, quiet moments.
Thank you for listening today, for learning with us, and for growing alongside us through every episode. Your presence, your time, and your willingness to learn truly mean more to us than words can express.
Yes, thank you for being here with us. Every listener becomes part of this journey, and we appreciate you deeply for choosing to share this space with us.
We genuinely look forward to seeing you again in our next episode, where we will explore another meaningful topic designed to help you speak English with greater confidence, emotional depth, and authenticity.
Until then, please take good care of yourself, listen to your needs, and continue practicing English in a warm, natural, and heartfelt way that feels right for you.
Remember to be gentle with yourself, to truly enjoy your weekends, and to allow those quiet moments of rest and reflection to fill your life with balance, calm, and beauty.
And always remember that every moment of rest, no matter how small, is an act of love toward yourself, something valuable, necessary, and deeply deserved.
This has been the Fremmer English Podcast, a space created to guide you toward English conversations that are natural, emotional, and deeply human.
And we are sincerely grateful to walk this journey with you. Thank you for your trust, your time, and for opening your heart to learning with us.
We'll see you in the next episode, where new stories, meaningful lessons, and thoughtful reflections are waiting to inspire and support you.
Until next time, stay kind to yourself and others. Stay curious about the world. Stay well rested, and keep learning with love, patience, and confidence.